Joining me to review and get an outlook for the telecoms industry is Mr. Oluwole Abegunde, Director, Market Research and Insights at Insights. Joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you, sir. Good morning, and compliments of the season.
Thank you for having me, Ladi.
Yeah, so, we would love to take stock, at this point. So looking at, 2025, so far, the telecoms industry, that's, been on the radar, of everyone, at this point. We're always on our phones now, consuming data, making calls and all of that. So, for you, how did 2025, play out for the telecoms industry?
It's been good. 2024, 2023 were not so good years for the providers because of the tariff issue. And this time last year, we were talking about if the NCC will agree for a tariff increase or not. So they agreed in January, and that has helped stabilize pressures they had from FX exposures and things.
But that was all the way in January.
Yes, but there's been almost near immediate effect on the upside, because you see them declaring profits now, quarter after quarter, and we expect that at the end of the year, when the results come out, it will be positive also. 2023 losses, 2024 losses, but this year has been a different direction, and one of the key reasons is because of the policy change from the NCC that allowed 50% growth, increase in tariff. Also, as Nigerians, we've grown accustomed to that lifestyle change. As you said, our mobile phones, people are on their phones more, watching TV, movies, people are betting more, sports, entertainment, yes, education. So there's a lot, banking and finance, fintechs. So people are getting more used to services on their phones, and that's generating increased revenue for the telcos. Right,
and so it's been great, for the providers.
For the providers, yes.
So far. And I'm wondering, has it been that great for consumers?
So that's a double-edged sword.
Right.
So the consuming services that they have to pay for, and the services come at a cost. So consumers have to pay that cost. So telcos are not charity organizations, unfortunately. They run a business, and if the business is no longer profitable, then it's hard to attract investments. The top two telcos in the country are global brands, MTN and Airtel, and they have investors across the world that they report to. So if the investments in Nigeria don't make sense any longer, it's hard to compel investors to put in money into the business. Hence, although consumers are having challenges with the prices and all of that, but it's a burden we have to bear to keep the industry alive.
But have the consumers, have they gotten better service? It's one thing, raising prices, but are the consumers getting better service?
So again, it depends on your area, your location, a lot of things. Quality of service is yet to grow significantly in the market, which I believe the telcos or the ISPs are not actually maximizing as a USP to project themselves in the market. Nigeria is almost 30 years as an industry, telecoms industry, yet quality of service is a key differentiator. And none of them has yet to say, okay, look, I'm the guy that will be the telco that if you want to make a call, it goes through. Data goes through. So for all the telcos, all the ISPs in 2026, that is something they might need to look at and say, look, forget the branding, forget the razzmatazz, the marketing. Let's be the company that guarantees quality of service end-to-end, whether voice or data.
Right, and talking about data, we've seen, some consumers, have to pay more, trying to get, better service, when it comes to, data speed. But most of the time, some of them get disappointed, even when they pay more. We've seen that happen. But, if we look at the state of Nigeria's telecom industry now, we see mobile subscription growth between 2020 to 2025. The base, that's from about 170 million to 182 million. Tele density now above 80%. Steady growth, that's reflecting resilient demand, for mobile services. So the demand is there.
Demand is there, yes.
Demand is strong.
It's a young population.
Right.
So this year alone, you can imagine how many youths, tens of millions of youths become from 17 to 18, that the parents will allow access to social media, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok and the likes. So that number will also grow into the next number for 2026. So we expect that growth pattern to continue in terms of subscriber base.
Right. And we have kids 6 to 10 also trying to get on the internet.
Yes.
Trying to get all of those tablets. They want to play games.
Even schools, in terms of learning, the younger kids introduce them to the internet at the very
coding
and all of that.
Right.
So that also amounts to growth for the telcos.
Right. Okay. So were there any surprises, for you looking at the industry in 2025?
Not necessarily, because nothing significant has changed, except for the tariffs. That
wasn't much of a surprise.
Shut up. Yeah.
Or was it a surprise?
People weren't sure if the NCC would agree to the increase. But I guess after listening to all the stakeholders and they realized that if it didn't happen, because when you have your biggest telcos in the country declaring losses year after year, back to back, then it's concerning. It means there is no incentive to put more. So if you want them to put more, then you have to give them an environment where they can reap their investments back on the profitability plan. So that helped. But beyond that, except for Airtel, we saw Airtel announcing this direct-to-device thing with Starlink to tackle quality of service in the rural areas and also in urban areas. So that could be a big shift in the market in terms of how they are thinking about the market in 2026. Because again, like
I'm still wondering how that partnership is really going to work. That's the Airtel, Starlink partnership. Because in my mind, I feel they're competitors. Starlink is coming into your market, at this moment, but we're seeing a partnership here.
So it's going to be a collaboration.
Right.
So Starlink will essentially be a wholesale player selling wholesale bandwidth to Airtel in areas where terrestrial bandwidth is a problem for them. So, for example, you and I are on a call and the cell site is jammed. We can't receive a call. Your SIM automatically switches from whoever your provider is, IHS, whoever, to Starlink. So it's just an automatic switch that allows the quality of service not decline wherever you are across the country. So in that way, they are not competing. When it comes to fixed broadband and stuff like that, being an ISP, then there's competition. But on the mobile platform, no. Airtel needs Starlink for that.
Right. So is this partnership, is it going to move with other providers, other Nigerian providers? Is it just
potentially,
Airtel
if it goes as Airtel foresees it goes. Because again, we're trying to solve this critical problem of quality of service. Telcos can't guarantee you make a call, it goes 20 minutes uninterrupted. You want a market where you can have that kind of service and people can have value for money. Not people calling and dropping and switching from WhatsApp to voice calls. You want to be able to offer that kind of level of guarantee. So if that partnership with Starlink encourages that, and I'm sure MTN, T2, Telecom will also go the same route.
Right. And, talking about, going back to the tariffs now, did that change, consumer behavior much? Or did, consumers continue to demand regardless?
It's come to stay now, mobile connectivity. So bank transfers, AFCON is on now. There's a lot of betting going on. People are betting regardless of the tariff.
Yeah, the guys with short games.
Short games.
Right.
People are ordering food regardless. What's coming out the other day? People are doing all of these things regardless. People are going to school, learning, distance learning and all that. People are watching services online, church services online, regardless. So in terms of impacting consumer behavior, not necessarily because the services are needed. So we expect that more and more, even from an enterprise perspective, not just consumers now, businesses also need to communicate with suppliers, with their partners across the world, locally and internationally. So that demand for connected services, data and voice will always be there in the country. Yes.
And I guess another bright side of 2025, we've seen the Naira stable, most of the year. And, definitely that will play into the operators. Remember, it was FX losses, before now. So I guess that's behind most of the operators.
Yes, for now, as long as it remains
for
stable.
now.
For now. Unfortunately, a lot of our tech is imported. Our servers, our radios, they are from the US.
Because the Naira is still weak.
Absolutely.
There's still pressure there.
And whatever the telcos or the ISPs have a limited shelf life that they have to refresh over time. So when the time comes to refresh again, then they look at that cost now comes into play. Hopefully by then the Naira has come down. One thing that the NCC can actually do again to support the industry in that regard is to allow these telcos pay for licenses, spectrum now, in local currency instead of in FX. That will significantly help. Because it means if you're paying
because the NCC
Naira,
can afford to take Naira.
Naira, yes.
You don't have to take dollars for
yes,
spectrum.
For spectrum, yes. So if NCC can allow that to happen, then of course the telcos are in a better place to access and pay for spectrum when the license needs to be renewed.
Right. So, definitely 4G, 5G rollout, how did it all play out, in 2025? I know sometimes I see 5G on my phone, when I've tried to, use the internet. So what kind of progress have we seen?
5G has been slow, unfortunately, and I believe it's a supply side problem. There has been no compelling use case from the supply side, which is the telcos now, to make consumers, you and I, switch from 4G to 5G. If you go back to the generations from 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, there has been significant lifestyle changes that compelled users to go on those technologies. 1G was because it was from wired technology to wireless now. 2G was because 1G was analog, 2G is digital. We can call, we can text. 3G, there was broadband, some internet activity on your phone, so you were compelled to even change your devices. 4G then, proper broadband, streaming, Netflix, WhatsApp calls. So you had to go on. The service was there, the USP was there, compelling people. But for 5G, there's nothing significant that compels me to be on a 5G network right now. Right now, there's nothing that 5G can do that my 4G cannot do. So why should I? So until that supply side problem is tackled and solved, and it's not just Nigeria, it's globally. Yes, it's global, it's not just Nigeria. So it's not a Nigerian challenge, it's a global challenge. Until that is solved, 5G investment will still slow down.
All right, so, definitely it sounds good that it's not a Nigerian problem, with 5G, first of all. But, looking at current investment levels, in the sector, do you think it's meeting, kind of demand, we're seeing in this season?
It's been good. Lately, I've been seeing one of the telcos investing hard in fiber across the country, which shows they're saying something there. So again, you want to have an industry where there is an incentive to put in money because you're seeing that there are opportunities, whether in Lagos, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, Ibadan, Kano, wherever. So till end of 2025, we're seeing a particular telco, I don't want to mention names, putting money in that space, which is encouraging. Again, the Airtel Starlink one also is encouraging because it means that they're thinking about pockets of areas in the country where there is no connectivity yet, and how can they maximize opportunity in those spaces. So, of course, yes, we're seeing investments. It can only get better, and we want it to get better. That's what we want.
All right.
Yes.
So we've looked at the providers and, consumers at this point. We did talk about, the regulator giving a green light, for tariff hike in January. What else have we seen from the regulator in 2025?
So NCC has been very active, one of the most active regulators in the country. So what they did in terms of the tariff was awesome, allowing that to fly through. I believe one of the things NCC should be looking at now is, because Nigeria is mostly a mobile-centric telecoms industry, which is not healthy. Fixed broadband development, adopted in Nigeria about 1%. Super low. There is no advanced country that has a proper digital economy that has that kind of numbers. The US about 40%, China about 40%, the UAE, Saudi about 40%. We are about 1%. And we're talking about building $1 trillion economy. That can be built on a fixed broadband base of 1%. What the NCC can do is push, like they've been pushing good policies recently, push policies that ensure that fixed broadband adoption increases in the country. And how does that happen? Align federal, state, and local in terms of right of way. And allow these things, because everybody has there are stakeholders everywhere. But there needs to be that national interest that aligns everybody together that this has to be done. We want fixed broadband adoption in Nigeria to grow by 10% by 2030. This and this is what we need from the federal government, from the state government, and from the local. Everybody aligns and agrees, and we can push. We can't continue to be a mobile-centric market. It is not healthy for our future growth in terms of even global standing as a hotbed for investment in connectivity in the region. The markets that have fixed, the SMEs have better opportunities to play in that AI market, data center market, cloud market. We can't. We might only be able to play in the YouTube market, which is not what we want. We want that diversification across the spectrum of services that can be delivered. So SES can help encourage policies that will push fixed broadband growth in the market.
All right, so much to unpack there, and definitely I see some optimism, from you going into 2026.
Absolutely.
At this point, hopefully we'll see more investments and, affordable data for consumers, because you know how consumers, sometimes we complain about some providers sucking our internet. Hopefully we don't have to, worry about that, in 2026. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Help us unpack this industry. Mr. Oluwole Abegunde is the Director of Market Research and Insights at Insights. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You're welcome. Anytime, buddy.